Hello, Nigel here. I couldn't help noticing that you're still awake. Now, I'm an owl. I'm supposed to be up at night, but you need your sleep. So if it's your allergy symptoms that are keeping you up, here's a word to the wise. Try Xyzal. You see, Xyzal works fast to relieve sneezing, runny nose, itchy watery eyes, and itchy nose and throat. And it keeps going strong for 24 hours, so you can get your sleep and wake up refreshed and ready for a productive day ahead. Be wise, all. Take Xyzal at night. Use as directed. Starts working in 45 minutes.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, WABC Cop Talk listeners. This is retired New York City Police Department Captain Ed Mehmet, filling in for our usual host, retired first-grade Detective Kevin Schroeder, who is on the line remotely somewhere in space in the service of His Majesty. Who knows what he's doing? But I get this chance once in a while to be captain of the ship, and since I was a captain in the past, I'm filling in for the job I always had. Kevin, say hello to our audience.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cop Talk. Thank you, Captain.
You're welcome, Detective. Now that I'm in charge, I have the pleasure of introducing our guest, who was a former colleague of mine years ago when I was in the police department, retired Lieutenant Al Baker, who spent many years in the emergency service unit, which at one time when I came into the department was called the Emergency Service Division. So Al was quite well known at the time. He was a trainer. I trained under him. And we have the pleasure of having him here today. Let me give you a little background. Al is now the president of Baker Ballistics and Baker Ballistics, the inventor of a U.S. patented shield, a ballistic shield that police use for protection. And he has an interesting post-department career, and I'd like you to hear what he has to say. So, Al, give us a background of emergency service, how it formed or when it formed, and your career in law enforcement.
Okay, thank you, and it's my honor to be here. The Emergency Service Unit was officially established in 1930, and it was intended to be a multifaceted rescue organization handling all of the heavy rescue and heavy emergency situations in the city that the police force would need assistance with. The standard expression in emergency service in NYPD is when a citizen needs help, they call the cops. When the cops need help, they call emergency service. So it's any and all situations that get beyond the scope of the average police response. Everything from suicides, jumpers, hostage situations, barricaded suspects, animal conditions, water emergencies, transportation emergencies, hazardous materials, emotionally disturbed persons, which EDPs we call them. We used to call them psychos. Now we call them EDPs. Everyday people. No, I'm sorry, emotionally disturbed persons.
Politically correct.
Politically correct. So that's pretty much the overview. There's 10 emergency squads among 77 precincts in the 5 boroughs of New York City, and the squads cover multiple precincts and join together when major emergencies occur throughout the city, such as, unfortunately, the World Trade Center, where we lost 14 members of ESU on that tragic day. And so the second part of your question was my career. I started in New York PD in 1965. I was still 21 at the time. I was out of the military and was honored to join the only job that I ever wanted, and the only role I ever wanted in my life was to be a New York City cop, the best police department in the country at the time, I felt. And I started in the 69th Precinct in Canarsie in 65, went to emergency service in 1968, Truck 6, went to Truck 7 in Brooklyn in 1969. In 1975, we had the fiscal collapse in the city. I went to Truck 8. Then I went to Truck 10. Then I made sergeant in 1981, went to the 7-7 precinct, the 8-1 precinct, the Brooklyn North Task Force, came back to emergency in 1982. They gave me the lovely position of being in a lieutenant spot and a citywide supervisor as a sergeant. And at that point, I stayed in emergency for the remainder of my career until I made lieutenant and retired in 1990. So that's pretty much my whole NYPD career.
Well, you had a career like Walter Klotzbach, Mr. Emergency.
Walter Klotzbach was Mr. Emergency indeed. He was the most legendary commanding officer of emergency service in our history. He was actually a cop in 1930 and rose to the rank of chief. At the time, it was the Emergency Service Division, which at that time included harbor and aviation. So the original concept was land, sea, air. It was, the Marines were the ESU and the Air Force and the Harbor Police, the Marine Bureau.
And what I'd like to point out to our listening audience is that what everybody calls SWAT,
right?
New York never really had a SWAT. That's a West Coast term. However, correct me, Al, if I'm wrong, the Emergency Service Unit is now the official New York City SWAT. They do what SWAT teams do. They've taken on this role, and they do it magnificently. Am I correct?
Thank you. And yes, you're absolutely correct. SWAT, of course, was an LAPD-born term, meaning Special Weapons and Tactics. And, of course, Hollywood and the original TV series called SWAT was what promoted the concept. We had a legendary commanding officer of ESU by the name of Danny St. John. And Danny St. John used to say, SWAT, we're not. And what he meant was that, we are basically a multifaceted team where we'll do the rescue work, but we'll also do the apprehension work in the hostage barricade and the so-called SWAT work. And that still exists today.
And what I'd like to point out is that a very well-known, famous person was the commanding officer at one time of the Emergency Service Unit. And that was our former police commissioner, a dear friend of mine, Raymond Kelly, whose son is also a member of the WABC staff. And Ray Kelly was the commanding officer for quite a while.
Ray Kelly was my boss for quite a while, and you couldn't find a more upstanding, more qualified, better cop and boss and commissioner in the world. He was the top of the list. Just a great guy, a Marine, a lawyer, and a great guy, a great thinker, and a great innovator.
And a class act.
A major class act. Thank you.
Al, what was your most challenging experience with the ESU?
Well, that's a pretty good question. Every day was a challenge, and every day was an honor to be there. And having the opportunity to work with such great heroes was really a humbling experience. Guys like Richie Seaberg, who put a rope around his body and jumped off a 50-story building to rescue a stranded scaffold man. Eddie Coulter, who climbed up to the roof, the crown of the Statue of Liberty to take a jumper down. People like that. And it's just the whole experience of being in ESU and being able to work with such great heroes was a humbling experience. Challenging, it's just so hard to isolate one incident that was the most challenging. But I will say, since you mentioned Ray Kelly, he was my captain on the night that we took the shooter of a police officer who was killed in the line of duty, Gabe Vitale, 109 Precinct. And we went in on a warrant to apprehend the suspect, and he pulled a pin on a hand grenade and threw it at us. It was a dud, otherwise we'd all be dead. And then he had a misfire on his .45 semi-automatic Vanguard Thompson replica machine gun, and if it wasn't for that, we'd also be dead. And we took the guy into custody, and it was a tough night, but it was also a rewarding night because we didn't get hurt. The suspect got a couple of shotgun pellets in his shoulder, but other than that, we came away okay.
Al, let me ask you, what was the most rewarding thing about being with the elite emergency service unit?
I have to say the most rewarding thing was being able to walk with those heroes. You know, I mean, these are a bunch of people that are so dedicated, so honorable. You know, they'd go out and, get into a shooting and come back to the coffee table in quarters and talk about their broken lawnmower. You know, they were just the most humble family guys, practical guys, honest guys, and guys that taught you the lessons of life every day. So the rewards were endless. I mean, having spent 22 years in emergency service and having been able to work with these guys and, to be able to stand up alongside of them and be counted among them it's really the most honorable of careers. I would do it again in a minute if I could.
Right.
I would walk out this door and go work with these guys again in a moment.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva. Available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
Al, what kind of schedule did you guys do? Was it like the fireman chart?
No, we worked a regular patrol chart. We worked around the clock, 8 to 4s, 4 to 12s, midnights to 8. When I was there, we worked a 9-squad chart. So you worked days 4 to 12s, days 4 to 12s, and then a set of late tours, a set of midnights. So, and 8-hour tours.
Al, I know you are very familiar with this case, as I am, and I'm sure many of our listeners remember the Eleanor Bumpurs case.
Yes.
For those listeners who are not familiar with that case, that was a case of an elderly grandmother. It was about 1983 or 84. I had just been promoted to captain, in fact. I remember this case very well. She was an EDP, what we used to call psychos, as Al pointed out before. And she was a violent EDP, which is probably one of the most dangerous jobs a police officer can respond to. So the emergency service unit responded. I believe it was a 3-man team. Correct me, Al, if I'm wrong. It was 3 men?
It was actually 5.
Oh, 5. All right, I thought it was 3.
Yeah.
And it ended up with her being shot and killed.
Yes.
And because of her age and the way it happened, it became a cause célèbre in the police department. There were investigations, and it resulted in a whole new way that the handling of EDPs was changed. So can you tell us about that, how it affected EDP training?
Well, it completely revolutionized the tactics and training of the emergency service unit in sea change ways. The initial encounter involved the two police officers in front to make the apprehension. They had these plastic plexiglass shields, and the woman was stabbing at the shield with a 10-inch butcher knife. When she came over the top of the shield with the knife, the officer with the shotgun as backup necessarily had to shoot her to save the life of his counterpart. And, of course, she died, and that involved the indictment of the police officer for murder, which went 5 years into the court system, all the way up to the state Supreme Court before he was exonerated. And as a result of that, the tactics were changed, and the emphasis and the focus on less lethal devices and means of restraint were capitalized upon. So we ended up doing the taser, which was the electronic stun device, some of the other water cannons, and some of the other various training tools. And the most significant training change that took place was the EPT training, which I was involved in the founding of. EPT being Emergency Psychological Training Certification, as to compare with emergency medical training certification. And we, with John Jay College of Criminal Justice and the New York State Office of Mental Health, developed a 5-day certification training program basically in talking tactics within the various areas of mental illness to help promote our success rate in dealing in non-lethal matters with emotionally disturbed, violent people, such as Mrs. Bumpurs was. Unfortunately, her life had to be taken, but as we said, it ended up being a justifiable case.
Yeah, I remember the training very well because I was a fairly new captain, and at that time, everybody in the rank of captain and above had to attend your training at Floyd Bennett Field.
That's correct.
And I remember they showed us the shield, the ballistic shield that was used during the bumpy case, and you could clearly see the gouging where the knife struck the shield.
Yes.
And also, what I got a kick out of, you had this robot that talked, and you would use this robot to talk to the EDPs. And I remember somebody saying that the EDPs would actually talk back to the robot like it was another person.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. We had a two-way communication system. And the robot was, of course, a tactical intermediary in dealing with hostage barricaded suspects. And we could send the robot in and avoid putting a police officer in danger. And it was the first application actually in the country of a full-time, what we say, tactical robot, because robots were initially brought into law enforcement for EOD, for explosive ordnance disposition. And, we had to transfer the bomb squad robot into a tactical robot. And we actually have cases where suspects actually surrendered to the robot by using the voice commands.
Yes. Al, where did you get the idea for the bat shield? Where did that idea come up?
Okay, so when I retired from the police department, I went to work for Armor Holdings as a shield expert and tactical trainer for ballistic shields. And I proceeded for the next 10 years to train mostly SWAT teams. I trained over 500 SWAT teams over that 10-year period on regular bunker shields, regular old-style bunker shields with the viewport. And it was that encounter and that educational experience with cops from all over the country that led to the idea that a better shield, a lighter shield, and a more flexible shield should be developed. And that's where I developed it from. So with the bunker shield on a high-risk entry, the rifle operator would be in the number 2 position behind the shield. So that's a disadvantage because the major firepower would be behind the primary entry person. So I decided that we needed a lightweight shield that was flexible that could also deploy with the rifle. So that person could now be in the number 1 position. So now for the first time in the history of warfare, the weapon and the shield were together in one set of hands, I should say, and it would give more protection and more firepower in a high-risk entry situation. So basically, I learned how to build it from other cops that I trained.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, very great concept. Congratulations on that one.
Thank you.
Al, what would you say is the biggest challenges facing law enforcement today? I mean, it's a different world today. It's a different job today. But what would you say is the biggest challenges today?
I think that law enforcement in general has diminished the lowest common denominator, the patrol force. I think we have to enhance I think that's where the biggest weakness lies today, in training and equipping patrol force for responding and neutralizing active shooter and mass killing situations. You know, we've kind of overlooked them for special teams. Not to put down special teams. We need SWAT teams. We need special tactics. We need all those heavy equipment and highly trained and dedicated individuals. But I think that we've overlooked the training and qualifications of the first responder. Because if we look at some of these terrible situations that have occurred, such as Uvalde, Texas, you know, and in general, by the time the special teams get there, everybody's dead, the job is over, and, you know, it kind of defeats the basic premise of law enforcement, which is what? The protection of life and property, everybody's life.
Right.
And
Right.
so we have to bring up the first responder capabilities, both in training and in equipping.
What are your hopes for the future of law enforcement?
That we get over this idea of diminishing law enforcement. You know, the movement today to defund the police and to put down the police and sometimes consider police a danger of themselves or a threat of themselves or over-militaristic police. I think we have to eliminate that concept and bring back the confidence and the trust in police, and also bringing up the qualifications and the selection process of police. I think we need to go back to the days when, you know, you had to really be better qualified to be a cop.
Well, history always repeats. I'm sure we'll go back sometime to that.
I hope so.
I'm going to let Kevin take over because this is really his show, and I don't want to upstage him.
It's okay, Ed. You're doing a great job, Captain. That's why you're the captain.
That's it.
Al, I know you retired in 9/11, but I'm sure you went down to the ground zero, correct?
Oh, yes. I was there on the morning of the 12th, and I stayed until the 13th. Now, of course, I was working for ATF at the time. I had left training, and I had taken a job with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in Washington, D.C., and I was a training manager and a ballistics program manager, and it was a great job, and I got recruited by them, and it was a wonderful position. And so on the morning of September 11th, I should say, I was supposed to go to training in Louisiana with ATF, but of course the plane struck, and we had complete devastation and confusion. I went down there early the next morning and went into the pile with my ESU team. We went right into the depth of the fires, looking for our lost 14 members. And so it was a very surreal, very unreal situation. I mean, I remember back in the 70s, early 70s, watching them build those towers. We'd go to the edge and we'd look down, and the foundation was 7 stories deep. You'd be standing on the ground as if you were standing on a 7-story building looking down. Right. The massive buildings. So now to go back on September 11th, and you felt like you were on another planet. You had no sense of orientation because it was complete destruction all over. So that was my experience. Then I had to go back to Washington to go back to work for ATF because obviously we had the Pentagon situation going on down there.
Right.
So they called me back, and back to D.C. is where I went.
Are you registered with the 9/11 program at Mount Sinai?
Yes, I'm registered with the World Trade Center Health Program. And, I got a couple of conditions going on, knock wood. I'm still here. I'm doing okay. And I'm not doing as bad as some of my cohorts, and God bless them.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel or that white chocolate mocha. Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
Paraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Paraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Paraday, adelante.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country. Anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
Yeah, it's unfortunate how many members of service we're losing since 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very, very sad. Yeah. But definitely stay with that program. It's a good program, and I hope more and more people realize it's there for them to use.
Yes.
Al, what advice would you give someone who's considering maybe joining or putting in for the elite emergency service unit?
I would strongly advise them to continue to try for it. When I came into emergency in '68, the specialized training school was 2 weeks. We got most of our training on the job from senior members and experienced members.
Right.
But now today, the specialized training school is 8 months long, and it is incredible. The instructors there,
8 months.
It's 8 months long. Can you imagine? It's longer than the actual police academy.
Yes,
and,
right.
Yeah, and I mean, they do everything, special weapons, everybody's a certified diver, and the dive team. There's the EPT training. There's the heavy rescue, building collapses, animal conditions, jumpers, suicides, talk tactics, hostage barricade. I mean, the equipment on the trucks is tremendous. So, and there is a failure rate. I mean, they do have some people who can't cut it that come in. But, you need 5 years experience, and you got to pass an interview and an aptitude test and, high angle, stress. You got to be able to climb the bridges as we do and work in confined spaces. So there's a pretty serious selection process. And then, of course, there's a heavy pressure interview by 3 experienced supervisors, and they put them through that. But it's the best job in the world. I mean, it's the cops. I mean, it's just,
right.
To go into emergency service and, work in a truck, you go out on patrol and you're going to go from saving a life to apprehending someone and, all of the most delicate, meticulous rescues that you could think of, people trapped. It's the most rewarding experience in the world. It's the best job in the world. I highly recommend it. Yeah. But you got to be qualified.
A little bit of history. Prior to the creation of the emergency medical service and the fire department handling aided cases, the emergency service division was known for administering oxygen.
Right.
Right. When I was a young cop, if oxygen was needed, you would call for emergency service.
Right.
Are they still doing that?
Yes, they do. We still have everybody's a state certified EMT, emergency medical technician. We actually had a doctor on our team years ago. He retired. But, we still do medical rescue to a great extent. I remember when I was a young cop in Brooklyn, we went into a welfare office down in the 7th Precinct, and there was a woman laying on the floor in a crowded room, and the welfare doctor came out of the back. He said, she's dead, fellas, cancel the ambulance. And we got the oxygen out, and we started giving her resuscitation. And by the time the ambulance got there, we had her breathing. So, we've been doing that a long time, too. That's what makes emergencies so wonderful, because you're going to save a life, and you're going to get a lot of rewards by doing that. And the variation and the challenge of the different jobs is just endless.
I remember, Al, when I was in the police academy in 1985, the instructors would tell us when the public needs help, they call 911, and you respond. But when you need help, you call emergency service unit.
That's right, and
it's true. It's true.
And that's our tagline, and we love it.
Yeah. It's true.
We actually pirated the Tomcat, and we say "anytime, baby," which with the old Tomcat fighter plane, and we use that. A lot of guys use that for their logo, for our unofficial logo.
Hey, Al, tell our audience about the Baker Ballistics website and how your contact information, how they can get a hold of you and check out your website.
Yeah, thank you. So it's www.bakerballistics.com, and there's a whole array of our products and shields on there. And I would recommend going to there's a SHOT Show video, and Greg Lapin is one of our Sterling instructors, and he does a complete demonstration of all our rifle threat shields. We have rifle threat shields because now, the prevailing threat today is rifles, and the materials are able to withstand the high-powered rifle threats. So they can go on that website and see the products. We make the Bat Shield, which was the original invention, which is a pistol threat shield, which is a collapsible bat wing-looking device, lightweight, and deploys with the rifle. And then we go all the way up to the MRAPs, which is the heavy-duty rifle threat shield. And we combine that with a product called the Reaper, which is an exoskeletal backpack, which has a boom over the top of the helmet and a tether that attaches to maximally a 50-pound shield, which will stop 30-06 AP rifle rounds. And it distributes the weight off the shield and onto the back and shoulders of the operator, enabling that operator to do rapid deployment, combining a rifle with the heavy shield and going in and addressing an active shooter or a person with a rifle, a killer of sorts. So that's the best way to get in touch with us, is through the website. We have products all over the country, all over the world, and we just had a save up in Chicago area of a federal agent who took a round in one of our shields and survived. So
wow, great.
Yep. So
thank God.
Well, Al, this was a great interview. I'm glad to see you. I haven't seen you for maybe 30 years.
Wow. Okay.
This reminds me of old times, and I still remember that talking robot scene.
Oh yeah, my pal, that robot, changed my life.
Well, anyway, Kevin, tell the audience how you're signing off.
Well, thank you, Captain. On that note, I'd like to thank retired Lieutenant Al Baker. Thank you very much for being on our show today. Another episode of Cop Talk. For everyone out there, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to Cop Talk. You could also follow us on Twitter at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. Until next time, stay safe out there. Thank you.